What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on today's Beatport Studio Sessions, where I'll be going over my From Black to Technicolor Part 2 project on Music for Freaks. I'll also be going over my studio and some of the new gear that I have in here and critical additions in terms of the acoustics that I've added, and also emphasizing on some quick points with respects to the particular gear and production techniques I used on the project. And some of those points hopefully may be of value to you in your own production in the future. Alright, so From Black to Technicolor as an overall project, where did the inspiration come from? I do think it's important to go back to part one, because there wasn't in the beginning a part 1 and 2. There was just one singular album with over 12 different tracks that I pared down from 30 tracks originally, and we split it in two because we just felt that the way music is being consumed, it just made sense to ensure that none of the songs get lost. And again, I've said this many times before, I predominantly make music for the club, so it was just important to me, even more so, that no songs got lost in the mix. Now, that being said, the root of the inspiration for these two EPs was essentially in my travels to different clubs from Toronto and even as far as Ibiza that were playing techno and what they call tech house. Yes, the interpretations vary a little bit, but one common denominator that I observed was techno over time, or tech house based music over time, is missing a soulful component. And that's just my own observation and opinion. It's not a criticism of anybody else's music in those particular genres. It's just an observation, because I come from the school of groups like Kraftwerk and Detroit techno, and even in today's modern music, like in terms of music I gravitate towards that are quote unquote techno or tech house, folks like Mr. G or Smoke from back in the day, very percussive, having a human and soulful element in there. So that's the statement I was looking to make with this record, is to bring that soulful component to each of the tracks. Whether it's the orchestral Detroit techno feel of Age of Sagittarius to some jacking, tech house swing and mad reels, to using a lead in Resolution 5 as opposed to a typical 303 for that particular track, and for Bunning Trees in NYC, that's just, people understand what that is, and the grit and the dirt in terms of the bass heavy elements with tech house swing just all made sense to me, and I'm so happy that Music for Freaks agreed to put this one out. So that's the project and inspiration in a nutshell. Why don't we dive into each of the songs in particular. Age of Sagittarius loaded here, and as I said earlier, this is more the orchestral take on techno, and again, just based on my experience with Detroit techno and taking me back to that, and just I started out with this sample. I think I found this in Amsterdam, actually. It's probably filtered here. Let's go to a open part. Yeah. And I just started building around that. I think I added this the string hit here, and once I knew what key it was in, I was able to add the bass element. So just stop. I use this quite extensively on the project. This is the LFO tool by Transfer, XFER. I believe deadmau5 has a piece in this company along with his other programmer friend. It's a great tool because it's a side chain sort of tool that's not necessarily being triggered by another instrument, and it's controlling the side chain through an LFO. So with any low bass frequencies, it's necessary to ensure the kick cuts through. The bass needed to be rounded out some more, so I generally do this a lot in my productions. I'll add a sub to it. There's the sub, and I just use the stock Logic sub with some tweaks to the cutoff and resonance. So I think from there, I was just playing around with this and added some loops, some percussive stuff to get to the soul elements I was talking about previously. This is the string sample here that there's basically carbon copies of it, and what's happening there is one is panned left hard and the other is panned right hard because of most club systems being in mono, and I've explained this in other videos. Depending on the sample, I'll do this all the time just to make sure I get the richness and the fullness of the sample. If it was originally stereo, I'll just break it up and make it a strong mono signal, or I'll make it. So to continue, got my bass, sub, bit of percussive elements in there. Another loop I think I've added. Yeah, it's more like a tambourine loop. It's the same thing with that. It's a stereo, and I just split it in two. See what this is right here. Oh yeah. So that's like a voice loop. And here's an additional string I added. You can hear this throughout the song. Let's just focus on that. I think that's I think it's massive. Yeah, massive preset I tweaked a little bit. And again, once I found the key, everything just worked out nicely. And then the rest of the drum elements are from Machine. So we add all those in right now. String it, yeah. And then just created another element, just filtered it right down, let the bass roll, and then it becomes this progressive build, which is the feeling I wanted in this track because it's so orchestral in nature. Some people say, you know, the drums are more jacking related, which is my roots, and I can't help it. It's just a thing here. Let's see what the drums are. This is one of the lead snares. One of the lead snares. Added open hat to layer it up. sure I added like a 808 close hat, and I got some swinging happening here. There you have it. Really, all those elements combined make it orchestral and soulful at the same time, with a a techno feel in the 130 BPM area. So that's Age of Sagittarius. I just worked everything around that sample, got into the groove, and it worked out. Works for me. Be real. Be real. All right, this one is Mad Reels. This one came together really quick while staying at Steek's place in Ibiza, and I started this on my laptop, just chilling out at his villa and going through different loops and things I chopped up earlier before making a trip over to Ibiza, and I found this crazy bass loop. It's the core of the song. It's everything that makes the song. I'd chopped this loop up, got it in, and as that was going, I was like, oh, the great vocal to go with it. And I come across this vocal somewhere on the internet, and let's solo it out. But I knew it would work, and I'm keeping it real. That's the whole thing about the song, is I wanted to create something that said, yeah, I'm gonna keep it real to what I'm doing. And if you don't like me putting up my flag to say this is how I feel about this music and this is the direction I want to take it in, the world is is a democracy. You can opt out, but this is how I feel about it. And because I did this on the laptop, I really didn't have the convenience of using my normal UAD gear because I obviously didn't have them with me. So this is mainly a Logic project. The only time I used the UAD stuff was when I got back home, imported and used the UAD pieces that I have on my master channel here. But other than that, start from the bass line, added these other elements, that vocal, it's crazy. Another trippy little sound, really chopped up. And it all just comes together nicely. So where's our bass? Another layer snare added. It sounds boring by itself, but when it comes together, hi-hat, the snare I bounced out of Machine. Oh, and here's the sound I took from the System 8. That's the tail of it. Let's get it at the beginning. Start that again. That's the System 8 right there. Can't remember what instrument it was. But that worked. Great sample chops. EQ. Is our vocal. And kick. Bit of swinging it. That's right, I added a sub bass. This is the MIDI event. If you listen to this on studio speakers, you should be able to hear it. grimy and dirty. Then the breakdown here.
I was acting cool, cuz I told you I ain't got time for that, but nigga, today I got time, cuz. I'ma keep it G real. I'ma keep it G real.
Yeah.
I'ma keep it G real.
Resolution 5. This is a track where I wanted to just take a different twist on a typical 303 track with a 303 line, and my thought was, well, try a lead synth and play around with it. So I started from that line, which is here. So you get the idea. Just straight building around that. Solid punchy kick, get through. Put a low part of the lead line. Should hear that now. Then I put it back in. And I also layered it up with the sub. I like to add quirky things when you know, the sound is a particular line and I don't want to deviate from it too much. I'll add some other things to keep it flowing, you know. So another kick. And then a nice sustained sound to sort of bring you right into this is massive again as well. I used massive on this project quite a bit. At the time I didn't have my Matrix Brute or the Moog. So it's just getting creative with the tools that you got. It's really important to do just to stay inspired and motivated. And it looks like it just added some other sounds here, like rise up sounds. Then get into a crash. And then the rest are drum elements coming from Machine here that are currently muted. Let's unmute those now. Oh, and here's another thing I like to do, because I know there's different colors here. That tells me I've done something different to the snare in terms of how it's played. So why don't we solo that and give it a listen. Come here. That's different, yep. And it just continues. And these little touches, again, just keep it interesting. You get away from the monotony of a particular line. Like those little changes you do, changes in patterns to a snare, adding quirky sounds here and there, just keep the groove bumping and interesting all at the same time. So there you have it, Resolution 5. Here we have Bun and Trees in NYC. This particular project really came together quite nicely, and it came about as a result of, you know, again, just working from that human element, wanting to put human stories into these beats. So my cousin had sent me the Behringer DeepMind 12, which is the top rack right over here. Hopefully you can see that right up top, and it has an amazing arpeggiate function on it, arpeggiator function, and it just works well. It's so clean, and you can modify the sounds like in various ways. I started with this sound. I think I added some automation, and then I just continue to build around it. And you know, part of the big thing about this track is the vocal, which
Put on a jacket and put on a tall sleeve.
features some Jamaican patois. You know, again, that's part of my West Indian culture, and I can relate to that. And he's talking about all sort of cool things in his voice. It's
New
just
York City, you understand? This is some boy I try out on the thing, you know, so I'm gonna switch it up and then you hear that.
shouting out
New York.
New York City like that, and just continuing to build around that. So all flowing
Some
nicely
trees. That your weekend broadcast.
with the
Don't do my thing.
main arpeggiator.
I go just step out there. I go out with a vibes. Enjoy the weekend and stay warm. Ladies, don't do the thing, bro.
Shakers. It's very much percussive beats here. You can almost go for a Latino song, you know, like you can go there with that.
Burn some trees. That your weekend.
Here's some of the automation I threw in from the DeepMind. And the bass line. I love this spinning sound that grows throughout the track. Wonder what that is. Sample that. Oh, that's silent. Yeah, less is more. You don't need a lot of crazy equipment to do some extraordinary things, and then the rest are the drums from Machine. Just a breakdown here.
Burn some trees. That your weekend.
So that's a bell sound to introduce changes of
New York
breakdowns.
City, you
Again,
understand? This is some boy I try out.
massive,
So I'm gonna switch it up and
used
then you
pretty
hear that.
extensively in
New
this
York.
project.
Burn some trees. That your weekend.
And a lot of the drum stuff that I played was just, again, to complement the arpeggiator. So just to bring it back to this. And sometimes you got to make calls to know when to pull certain elements out. Like, I had this weird sound in there before, and when I hear it now, like, it just, I'm glad I pulled it out, because it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, like this, that sound just doesn't make sense for what the song has become. Right.
New York City, you understand? This is some boy I try out from a thing, you know, so I'm gonna switch it up on them, you hear that. New York.
Back in, right here. The other thing I want to share is how subtleties can really change things up. Like some songs, if you just left the arpeggiator in there, pardon me, if you just left the arpeggiator in there, it sounds like there's a hole. And I knew that right from the get-go, that the bass line needed to glue it together. Here's another thing, Flower of power of plugins. This SSLG, I highly recommend people use it, because just listen to the difference when I take this out. It just pulls everything back in, glues it all together nicely. It's an important component of my production. I normally don't have it pumping this hard. It just happened to work out for this particular track. Sound is so crazy, man. Yeah. Nice sound. There you have it. Bun Trees in NYC. Okay, just a quick overview or tour of my studio here in Toronto. I like to think of my studio as mainly in the box, with a few pieces of out of the box gear that has definitely evolved my sound over the last 2 years for sure. The biggest, first and foremost thing is the room design by my boy Marco at Acoustic Interiors here. Did a phenomenal job with just treating the walls, bass traps in either corner there, and some more wall treatment, and just balance here, and theater quality grade curtains, again, to create the flattest reference. You'll see the radiator here at the top, and I'll just pan up a little bit. We have other radiator just to, again, to diffuse the sound, keep things at a nice flat signal in here. So this has been a tremendous addition to stepping up my the quality of my productions for sure. Bass guitar, my poor ASR, Insonic ASR back there, my very first keyboard, it died, the audio doesn't work, and I don't use it anymore. The very top one, Roland System 8, love this keyboard. Lots of great sounds in it, lots of things you can do to manipulate sounds. Here is the Pioneer Toraz SP16 bottom, pretty much like a drum machine, but you can import your own samples and create some pretty cool beats with that. The Arturia, pardon me, Mini Brute. I use this mainly for bass lines. I push that through a microphone preamp. I don't know if you can see it there. This is one of the first things I turn on in the studio because it has real analog components. The other thing I turn on first in the studio is this new guy here, the Moog Subsequent 37. Amazing synth. And over here, this is the Matrix Brute by Arturia as well. Also an analog synth. It's just the DJ setup, standard Pioneer Decks XDJ 1000, and I got the 2000 over here. Monitors. So those are the Yamaha the 8s, and you know, I've had these for quite some time. And speaking to the guys in Detroit Swindle, I'm contemplating going over to a Dyna Audio machine. First one, had it for quite some time. Great piece of kit, lots of great drum sounds. This right here, and I didn't talk about this too much in the overview of the songs, but Soft Tube Console 1, for tech-based beats, I use the British Class A desk because I think the low end sounds phenomenal in it. This is the UAD Apollo Twin, and paired up with the Apollo 8 here. Huge difference in terms of DSP and less drain on your computer CPU, and again, just it's a it's a whole other level of great sounding plugins. So highly recommend those. The DeepMind 12, my boy Roland sent me, really great synth. Lots you could do with it. I love the arpeggiator on it and the stack of sounds that are in there, what you can do with it. Sennheiser headphones, just when I don't want to disturb my neighbors. Great. There you have it. Thanks for joining me on the Beatport Studio Sessions today. I had a lot of fun sharing this project with you and going over some of the inspiration and the tricks of the trade and tools that I use to get the sound that I wanted to achieve on this record. So thank you so much for your time and respect, and ultimately your overall support. I really and truly appreciate it. I have other releases coming on Hot Creations, Desolate, and Heist recordings as well later in the fall of this year. Lots of great things happening, and I'll see you guys in Australia soon. I think in late June, early July, we'll be doing a few dates there, and then back home here, a couple of dates in Toronto, and off again into Ottawa. So I'll see you guys soon. Much respect and love, and thank you out to Beatport and all of you guys who've been supporting my music for so long. Much love and respect. Peace.